6 people remain unaccounted for after a major bridge in Baltimore fully collapsed into the water after being struck by a container ship.
So the vessel lost power and issued a Mayday call before striking one of the supports of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, causing it to break apart and plunge into the water. You just saw the footage. Part of it is still going into the water right there. 2 people have been rescued. 1 is in serious condition. Officials say that there were several workers on the bridge at the time, some vehicles as well, but the Mayday call allowed them to limit some traffic going onto the bridge. And the collision happened in the early hours of this morning. When the sun rose, the extent of the damage became clear. Concrete supports can be seen sticking out of the water along with twisted metal and the remains of the bridge. Well, the bridge is a key commuter route with more than 11 million vehicles crossing it every year. Maryland's governor has declared a state of emergency.
We are still investigating what happened, but we are quickly gathering details. The preliminary investigation points to an accident. We haven't seen any credible evidence of a terrorist attack. Our administration is working closely with leaders from all levels of government and society to respond to this crisis.
Just to give you a sense of scale, roughly about 35,000 people a day use that facility. About double that use the Harbor Tunnel, and double that again use the Fort McHenry Tunnel. So basically, we don't have those 2 other options. We'll make sure that we have as much personnel out there to deal with any incidents, because as you know, that can cause the backups very quickly. And we will basically put out a lot of communications on different alternatives. We're also looking at transit alternatives as well.
So that's another shot of the destruction. Just a devastating scene there. 6 people are missing. That search and rescue operation continues. And for more, we're joined live by Captain Bobby Sholey, a maritime diving and salvage consultant and retired Navy diver who's in Annapolis, Maryland. Captain, thanks so much for joining us. You live about 30 minutes south of Baltimore where this happened. What more can you tell us about that bridge? And what is your assessment of what happened?
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Lena. Yes, that's a bridge that I'm very familiar with. I traveled that bridge many times, and I'm just struck by awe that this bridge would collapse under these circumstances. It's going to be a tough job. I feel for those divers that are going to be in those waters, it's going to be a hazardous dive, but I know those first responder divers are going to give it everything they have to help with this recovery and search and rescue operation. But it's not going to be easy for them under these circumstances.
Yeah.
Captain, what can you tell us about the timing of this Mayday call and how it played into all of this? You know, so many more people could have been impacted by this.
Yes, it was absolutely a critical Mayday call. And in addition to being a Navy diver, I was also a Navy ship driver and captain of a Navy ship as well. And that is one of the emergency procedures that I'm sure the captain and the 2 pilots that were aboard that vessel made automatically when they saw that they were having difficulties, whether it was an engineering casualty or whatever the investigation turns up happened in this circumstance. But that Mayday call was critical in reducing the scope of this tragedy and the number of people that were involved in this tragedy, and allowing the officials on the bridge to minimize how many cars were on that bridge. But definitely a lot of credit goes out to the pilots and the captain that were on that ship.
Yeah, we heard officials say just that Mayday call saved so many lives. This could have been so much worse. Captain, we know that sonar has detected the presence of vehicles below the water surface. You talked about how this is going to be a very challenging operation. How do crews try to find survivors?
That is actually the first phase of any search and rescue operation, is we get our technical equipment into the water as soon as possible so that we can map out the scope of the area that we're looking in. And so the crew will want to get their sonar, side scan sonar into the water quickly so that they can essentially map the field out and find the objects of interest. In this case, it would be the vehicles that they're looking for, which would show up much larger than any of the debris from the bridge, and quickly try to identify those vehicles, because that, of course, is what they're looking for to try to recover any of the victims.
Captain, along with that, a realistic look at this. The temperature in the river was about 8 degrees Celsius early this morning. How much time does that buy crews, desperate to find people potentially stuck in their vehicles? What's the realistic outlook here?
Well, obviously the cold water is going to be a huge factor in recovering any of the victims. And there's been, stories of incredible miracles of finding people that have been submerged in cold water. Now, you've got to account for hypothermia and hoping that there's going to be pockets of air in those vehicles, that there could be a miracle and finding a person still alive down there. But hypothermia is going to be a factor. But then cold water does interesting things to people, and it could be of help as well.
Just a terrible story. Thanks so much for helping us navigate some of the details. Captain Bobby Sholey joining us live from Maryland. Thank you.